You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're going to be talking about times in our life when we feel lonely. When we just feel as though we don't have that person to turn to ask for advice or hang out with, or maybe we're alone because we feel like everybody else is living their dream, living on purpose, and we're just confused as to what we should be doing. Many of my clients are at that place, so I have numerous conversations over the week with people that are lonely in different forms. So know that you are not alone. I want you to feel free to call in today. That number is 800-333-0001. And I will be there to assist you, to get you on a good path where you don't feel alone, where you feel supported. And we are going to be having an inspirational guest coming up in our next segment, Jonathan Berenger. And his story is inspiring, but also it's a reminder to all of us that the loneliness that we feel sometimes, we can pull ourselves out of, but it really starts with us, to looking inside ourselves and finding the good and the purpose, and then from there turning to people that love us and support us and getting us on a better path. He did that same journey, which he will share with us in the next segment. Also, we want to hear from you. If you have questions on today's topic, you need resources, or even if you have an inspirational story that you feel our community would benefit from, we'd love to hear from you. That email is connect@livingfullout.com. Again, connect@livingfullout.com. Lastly, if you would like to hear today's show or any of our episodes again, just go over to livingfullout.com and you can listen to as many episodes as you want 24/7. We want to keep you motivated and on track each and every day. And most of all, we're talking today about loneliness, but any topic is on the table just to keep you that motivation, that inspiration to move forward. So I'm getting a word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line. We'll go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, how are you? I'm
great. Thank you. Tell me what's going on today. How can we help you?
So a couple of months ago, this last year, I started my first year of college, and it was pretty nice. We right from the beginning, I made a nice group of friends. First semester went great. We hung out all the time. It's not like it was anything too much. It was just casual. We came back from winter break, and my friends basically kind of have been shutting me out. Like they've been ignoring me or not inviting me to hang out with them as much. And I'm looking for new friends, and I'm a little bit scared of trying to get into a new friend group so late in the year. And I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit, I guess lonely because of it. But otherwise, it's more. I'm just. How do I get over that fear of wanting to be back in a new friend group without, I guess, being too overbearing or anything like that?
You know what? I love that you asked this question, and whether you know it or not, so many of our listeners are probably nodding their heads, going, "Yep, I'm in that same place. A little bit different circumstance, but we've all been there." And I can tell you a couple of things I would suggest. Okay. Number one, from the prior friend group, and maybe you've asked this, maybe you haven't, but I would pick one or two people and just be ready for whatever they say. But knowledge is power. When you're starting any new relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, a friend relationship, it's helpful to understand why relationships ended, or what influenced them to treat you differently. Sometimes that's a scary question to ask because you don't really want to know the answer, but that's only going to make you better. So the first thing is, as you move from one friend group to another, go back to one or two of those people via email, in person, or phone, and ask them, I'm not asking for our friendship to be back again, or, I respect wherever you're going through. Can you just tell me why? Like, did I do something or what happened? And just be ready for their answer. Then, as you take that knowledge into your new relationships, it's not necessarily about you. Sometimes it's just timing. Believe it or not, maybe you outgrew them in some way. Maybe they outgrew you. Consider your life like a book, right? There's chapters. And it's not to say that the same friends are in our life for every chapter. So perhaps those friends were just in a chapter called Beginning College, right? But maybe this next group is the ones that you actually evolve, mature, and grow with. And what I would suggest, since you do have such a great social network of school, I would join some clubs, see if you can get connected to some people that way. I would also encourage you to reach out to one person either once a day or at least once a week. And I've even done this. When I recently moved to a new area, I didn't know anybody. And so I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to take myself out to lunch once a week, and I'm going to sit, in a social place, like maybe at the bar or wherever where other single people would be. And I'm going to just meet people. Maybe I'll meet nobody. Maybe I'll meet one person. Maybe the person sitting next to me. It just starts with putting yourself in sometimes the uncomfortable. Lastly, there is a site which I've used, I know others have as well, called meetup.com. And if you go to meetup.com, they're in most cities across the country, and you can do social groups, activity groups, you name it. Check it out. Really good site. Okay?
Okay. Yeah,
so hang in there. And honestly, the friends that haven't met you yet, they should be so excited because they're going to get you, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let go of the duds, let go of the old friendships, and embrace the new. Okay?
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you so much for calling in.
Of course.
Getting out of loneliness into new friendships. I love it. That he is going to do well, I have a feeling. We're getting word from our producer that we have another caller on the line. We'll go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi there.
I'd like to ask you a question about, so I recently graduated from college and I moved back home. Wondering how you would suggest that I have a good communication with them, because sometimes I feel like I'm back home almost like I'm a high schooler again or a teenager, and I want my independence. But at the same time, I understand they're my parents, and I want to like respect their opinions. So how would you suggest that I communicate with them?
Well, so great question. And a lot of people have moved home, especially given the economic environment we've had over the last, several years. People at all different ages have moved home. So you're not alone, okay? But the thing is you want to establish a new level of respect. You're still their daughter. They're your parents. You're the daughter, right? But you want to have them look at you now as the aspiring professional that you are. So what you might say is, listen, I would like to have a certain amount of freedom and liberty, but at the same time, I want you to know that I'm not looking for a free ride. Come up with something that's manageable. Like if you were to go to pay rent, it'd be like probably $500, $1,000 plus, depending on where you live in the country. I'm not saying you have to pay your parents that, but maybe say, you know what? I would like to be able to pay you $25, $50, $100 and treat me like a tenant. Okay. And just like a tenant, I want to have some freedoms to come and go. Okay. But I want to contribute. So you're earning a new level of respect from them. So I'm sorry, we lost our caller there, which is unfortunate, but hopefully she's still listening. And what I want to tell her is when you set things up in such a way that now the balance is no longer, just parent-child, but you make it more of a professional. I'm not saying you have to be landlord-tenant, but I think you're seeing what I'm saying. You want to contribute. Maybe it's rent. Maybe it is buying groceries. It could be any number of things. Just contributing like that, kind of changing the arrangement, will take you out of feeling like you're back in high school, but now you're in college. You're a woman who is getting into her own career. And if you do those things, I know your parents will treat you with the respect you're looking for. But great question. So if you have more questions today on how to get out of loneliness and get into a place of being confident, proud of where you are in your life, building a strong support network, this is the time and the day to call in for that. Also coming up, we're going to have our inspirational guest, Jonathan Berenger. Again, he went through loneliness. He came out of it stronger, but he had to look for inside himself, believing in himself, knowing that he had worth, that he could do it. We all have that same ability. His story is very inspiring. You don't want to miss it. So this is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Let's make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then
nothing. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about loneliness and how we can get out of that cycle. And sometimes it feels like we're never going to break that cycle, that we're never going to feel like we fit in, like we have a support team. And our inspirational guest today, Jonathan Berenger, is no stranger to that feeling. It felt probably like numerous setbacks were holding him back from feeling connected to people, but he eventually did find his way. I don't want to give his story away, so I will just welcome him to the show. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And as I kind of told our audience there, you had a lot of bumps early in life, and we're going to take them back on the journey just a little bit. I know that when you were born premature, 7 months, and although you don't remember that part, your mom unfortunately passed away 4 months after your birth. And that was really the first loss in your life. From there, you did go on to live with your grandparents. What was the first time that you remember somebody telling you about your mom and what had happened? Because that was really the first of many losses that you experienced.
It was probably sometime in the upper grade school, so maybe around 4th grade or 5th grade, as I was around 9 or 10 years old. For me, I had my mom. My mom was my grandmother. But going to parent-teacher conferences and school events, noticing that my mom was older than all the other moms and things like that, I realized, wait a minute, something's not right here. And that's when I myself realized, wait a minute, where's my birth mother? And that's when they kind of had to talk with me. And around that time, 8, 9 years old,
okay,
that's when they first had to talk with me.
And that's eye-opening for you, because you're seeing all these other friends of yours grow up with their parents, or at least one of their parents, and neither of your parents were in your life. Unfortunately, your mom had passed, and your father had been in prison. I know that you did eventually get to connect with him for a little bit of time before you experienced a loss with him as well. Can you share with us about that?
Yeah, that loss, I'd say, impacted me more. I was able to feel it a little bit more than the loss of my mother, because having had the opportunity to interact with him, he bought me a bike. I remember wanting to ride bikes with him and not being able to. I remember he bought me a baseball glove, and I remember vividly not being able to use the glove. I'm talking about ever. And he bought me a few books. So having that experience with him, I remember hope emerging inside of me, hope to, have spent some time with this man in my life who came out of nowhere and now claims to be my father. But I remember enjoying that very much and being very hopeful to spend that time. So when I began to realize, hey, when is he going to come back to teach me how to ride this bike? When is he going to come back to teach me how to play baseball and how to play catch? When is he going to come back and read these books with me? And then my grandparents had to talk with me pretty much around the same age, 8, 9, 10. And explained to me that he had passed away. At that time, they just expressed that he had passed away. It was later in middle school that I learned that he, because he was in prison, because he had a fight with some people, and they swore revenge. So once he got out of prison, they found him, and they got their revenge. And unfortunately, they fought with him, threw him in the street, and a car ran him over. So my father was murdered when I was around 5 or 6 years old. And I came to realize that it was murder when I was in middle school. But that loss was definitely, I felt that.
Well, and so with both of your biological parents not in your life for most of your early years, your grandparents were your parents. And unfortunately, the losses kept coming when your grandfather passed away. I know he was, in all intents purposes, your father growing up. But I'm just curious, as a man or a boy trying to grow up to be a man, What is that like, not having, when your grandfather/father passed and then your father was murdered? Where do you turn to for role models at that point?
So I definitely was looking all over the place for a role model, especially after my grandfather passed. My grandfather, unfortunately, he lived much of my life in a wheelchair. And so he never got to teach me how to play sports and whatnot. So in third, fourth, fifth grade, I was bullied so much for not knowing how to play sports and not even wanting to play sports. I think there was a desire there that I wanted to be like the other boys playing sports and involved. I just was scared. I didn't know how. I was also very shy at the time. But then after he passed, I kind of made a decision. You know what? I gotta kind of step up. I gotta try to see what's out there. I gotta, be somebody, be a man some way, somehow. So in middle school, I started trying to play some sports now with my friends, and football here and there. But I also was looking at other figures in the school, outside of the school, around the neighborhood, like the guys hanging out on the street. I wanted to hang out more. I had a cousin that was into heavy metal and things like that. So I started wearing all black and getting into rock and roll and things like that, and kind of isolating myself. So I thought I was getting closer to being more sociable and being more of a man, but I was actually isolating myself and, just creating more of a ditch and of a hole for myself without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, back then you had all these different men that you were looking at, and unfortunately they weren't all into the best things. Was there at least one good role model you had beyond your dad and your grandfather? Like a teacher?
Definitely. Yes. My fifth grade teacher was an amazing man. He's definitely one that he's taught me more than just reading and math. He taught the whole child in me, as we say in education, because he actually cared so much that he would have talks with me about real life situations, about the military that he was in, he would even take time during a recess to teach me how to play sports. And that's why I was able to step up a little bit and actually play sports in middle school, because he was the man that took time to actually invest in me and teach me how to step up and how to open up a little bit more and interact with my other friends. So he was definitely one of the first male role models that really impacted me outside of my family.
And being go ahead.
I was just going to say that I then took that into middle school, then trying to recreate myself. It didn't work 100%, but he was a push for that.
Well, and I imagine being an only child and having all those losses, it was, relieving to know that somebody saw you, somebody recognized what you needed. And I want you to stay with us, Jonathan, because we're going to take a commercial break. But when we come back, I want to talk more about this longing that you had to belong and really how you got yourself out of being in a place of loneliness into boosting your confidence and how that happened and who you turned to. So I want you to stay with us. And everybody, when we come back, we're going to continue the story. Today we're talking about loneliness. How do we get out of that feeling, that funk, sometimes feeling depressed? How do we find ourselves again? How do we find that purpose in life? It is doable, and so stay with us. We'll be sharing those tips and secrets when we come back. This is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. Stay with us.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about when we're lonely in life and how do we transition out of that place of fear, depression, being just stuck. How do we get to a place where we're living on purpose, where we're confident, where we feel like we belong? It is possible. It does take work within ourselves and also being transparent and vulnerable with others. And our inspirational guest today, Jonathan Berenger, is a perfect example of what it means to live full out and get through the fire of loneliness and come out the other end, really living a beautiful life. And we haven't got there yet in his story, but stay with us. I'd like to welcome Jonathan back to the show.
Hey, Nancy, I'm glad to be back.
Absolutely. Now, I know in the last segment we talked a lot about the various losses you had, the loss of your mom, who passed away, really before you knew her at 4 months. Your dad was murdered. Your grandfather passed away when you were 10 and really left you with your grandmother, who was your mother. How did you deal with loneliness? You were an only child, but I know you were shy. But how did you internalize all that pain?
In grade school was really just to myself, really suppressing a lot of things. It wasn't until middle school that I began to use the outlet of poetry and creative expression through writing, that I began to really just write out, allow me to say, the pain, really write out the struggle, the pain of my inner thoughts that I was too afraid to share, my inner thoughts that I was too afraid to express. And I just began to write. I wrote a lot during my 3 years of middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I wrote a lot, and I think that was an outlet.
Yeah, I love that, and I encourage people to write all the time. And it's just kind of getting out of your mind, out of your heart, out of your core, all those negative thoughts, just kind of getting them out of your body and onto paper so that you can feel more free. Now, I know that you did have a couple of times along the way where you might have questioned, I'm going in a negative direction. These are not the right people. But I also know that there was a time, really probably the most epic moment for you, where you realized you had gone too far. Was regarding a woman that you had cared for, and perhaps you had felt rejected by her. Can you share with us that circumstance?
Sure. Yeah, this was 8th grade year, which was an extremely pivotal year for me. I liked a girl in my class, and no matter how hard I tried, it was just rejection after rejection. We were friends, but me wanting her to be my girlfriend at the time, and not happening, and seeing her with different guys. Not that she was with a lot of guys, but seeing that she was with one of my friends and another one of my friends, and then me ultimately, trying to make that move one last time and then not going anywhere. It hurt a lot. I mean, the rejection that I had already experienced, and then this again made me realize, man, I'm in a dark place here. And I kind of said to myself, I shouldn't be this hurt or feel this broken because of a girl. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized it wasn't just a girl. It was everything else. And that was kind of just a cherry on top for me.
And so good that you recognized it, that you heard that voice within yourself, that you recognized that you were starting to slip into a dark place, that you didn't want to keep going there, that really wasn't authentically you. And I know that you were going along this path, just trying to figure out, what does a man look like? What is he? How does he talk? What actions does he do? And here you were about to start high school, but you did find your way to church a couple of Sundays. And one Sunday, kind of everything started to kind of shake you up a bit. You started to see things a little differently. But here you were in your dark clothes and black nails, and you probably stood out. But what was it about that day in church?
Yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I mean, I definitely think I was an eyesore. Everyone was happy and jolly, and I had no happy facial expression on me, and I was in all black. And I remember that it was judgment-free. It was a judgment-free zone, and that surprised me. And then in addition to that, in the middle of one of the services, a bunch of young ladies walked in. And so now, I was attentive. But more than, checking out the girls or anything like that, what I was really paying attention to was their stories. And I realized they had stories of pain as well, similar to mine. They had stories of pain and hurt, and they shared their stories openly. But then they ended with, now they have love in God. Now they have hope in God. Now they have purpose in God. And that hooked me. And I said to myself at that very moment, I want what those young ladies have. Whatever it is that they're drinking or smoking, I want it. But they just genuinely had the peace that came from going to church and finding faith in God. And I made a decision. I want that.
Now, the shy boy in you who was trying to find his way as a man, you could have stayed in your seat. Now, a lot of times we go to an event, we go to church, we go to a get-together, and we sit down, and it's almost like we are glued to that seat. If we get up out of that seat, there's the fear, the unknown, the what-ifs. But you got up that day. What made you feel secure to trust them?
You know, at that moment, I didn't know what was happening to me. I was crying while trying to be tough, but yet the tears were coming down. I was trembling a bit, anxious inside while trying to be tough and be strong and stay in my seat and stand my ground, because that's what I thought a man had to do, stand his ground. So I was planning. My goal was to stay sitting down, let it finish, and go home. But I found myself encountered with a greater presence. And I would say even a very strong sense of jealousy came upon me, in the sense that I was jealous that they had the happiness, and that moved me. You know what? I want what they have. It moved me extremely, so much to the point that I said, I got to get up, because it was also a mirror to realize that they're hurt, but they made it out. I'm hurt and I'm still stuck. Now, if everything I've learned about what a man's supposed to be, which is not much, but I think I should make this decision to step out here and go after it. So I decided that moment that, I got to get up. I was already moved, and I got to get up.
You decided to hit the reset button. And I think sometimes in life, we forget that we have the ability to start new. We have the ability to have new friends, switch schools, get a new job, transition out of relationships. And you did that. And when you went to high school, because that was the end of your middle school, you said, game on. I'm going to live full out. I'm going to up my grades, because they really weren't good. You mentioned that several times in videos, that you were not the stellar student, but you ended up graduating with honors. You ended up going to college, starting your own business at 19 in college, tutoring, and went on to have many more successes. But as we kind of close up this interview today, what's really important is that secret sauce. How did you go from being this lonely, bewildered, confused, almost hopeless person to, you know what, I'm going to muster the energy, I'm going to trust, I'm going to just go for it. But then even the work that you had to do to up those grades, to put yourself out there. What's that secret sauce? What is that ingredient?
I hearing the words from men at my church, my pastor at my church, and other men that came in my life who were positive influencers tell me that, hey, you have value and purpose. Those words struck me so much. And it was an understanding that I had value and that I had purpose. And, the saying of the grass is greener on the other side, that whole idea of, if I have purpose and if I have value and the grass is greener on the other side, well, how am I going to get to the other side? I have to walk. Or like this, the quote by John Maxwell, there's no there's no elevator to success. You got to take the stairs. So I understood that, hey, you know what? I have purpose, but the only way to live out that purpose is to actually get down to work and work hard. So I challenged myself to come out of my comfort zone.
I love that. And as we close up today, because that gives the people inspiration who feel hopeless, but I want to address one other group, because you were that person. Those people who feel like life is just stacked up against them. They kind of have that chip on their shoulder. Everyone else has it easier, right? I'm sure you had that conversation with yourself. What do you tell those people today in terms of getting that chip off their shoulder, opening up? What do you say?
I had my story, and there were moments where I felt that, man, I'm the only one who's been through this. But the reality is that we all have a story, and we really do not know what the person next to us is going through. And as I began to hear other stories from other people, like that moment in church, I realized, hey, I'm not alone in this. And if they made it through, I can make it through, because, again, I have value and I have purpose. I had to learn that, repeat it over and over to myself. So if I have value and I have purpose and I see that they do, then there's hope for me too, and I can get out of this. So that really drove me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, honestly, bravo to you. And I don't say that just because of all the things that you achieved, but life is meant to be lived, and it's one of those things where it's those aha moments, those life lessons, and you got it. You got it. It took you a long time to get there, and it wasn't handed to you on a platter. But you listened, you heard, you watched, and that should be celebrated. So I'm so proud of you that you recognize your value. And I'm so grateful that you were on the show today to remind our listeners who are lonely that they can get to a place of being supported. So I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Well, have a great day. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
All right, you too. Have a good one.
And for everybody listening, his words are so true. We all have a story. You have a story. We want to hear your story. Whether you want to come on the show as a guest, whether you just want to call us and get coaching or resources, don't feel alone. Don't feel as though you're stuck in a place of loneliness where no one can hear you or no one cares. We do care. And so the Living Full Out family is opening their arms to you to reach out to us for motivation and resources. But stay with us because we're going to take more of your calls. This is the Living Full Out show. I am Nancy Solari, and today the focus is getting you out of feeling lonely and getting you into feeling confident and supported. We'll be back.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We're your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say,
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
When you feel lonely, always remember that the way to get out of that place of depression, isolation, is to get your mind open to express yourself. That might be journaling, it might be turning to someone in your life and telling them how you feel, but either way, just taking action, getting yourself from a place of loneliness to confidence. I believe in you, and it's living full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. Nancy is here as a guide to show you how to rise above obstacles and savor each moment. If you have a question, call in live at 800-333-0001. That's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about loneliness and how we get out of that funk, how we get to a place where we feel as though we belong, that we're no longer alone on this journey, that people care, that what we have to say has meaning. And our inspirational guests, all the callers today, and all of you listening, it takes us all coming together. That way you're not alone. And so I'm so grateful that all of you are listening today, contributing as callers. That's how we get out of a place of loneliness to support together. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line. We're going to go say hello to them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, thank you for joining us. How can we help you today?
Sure. Well, I am wondering, I am having a really hard time having a positive relationship and a healthy relationship with my mom, mainly because we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, so our conversations end up being arguments. I'm wondering if you have any tips between a mother and a daughter to building a healthier relationship so that when we're talking, our conversations don't end up being arguments.
That's a great question. If this was an intimate relationship or a friendship, you could just let them go, right? You can't do that, right? Your mom is there and she birthed you and she's going to be there till the end, right? But the thing is sometimes you just have to agree to disagree. And what you might want to do is think about putting together a contract. Okay, and I don't mean that lightly. Talk it out first and decide on what you agree on, where you both can laugh, where you both can bond, where you can enjoy each other's company. And you want to, in this agreement, let those be the places that shine, that you put the emphasis. Then you want to talk about the hot topics, the ones that are triggers, that always seem to get you into a fester. And those are the ones that you want to go off topic. You don't bring those up. And talk about it together, come into an agreement, and one of you can put it in an email, and the other replies back saying, I agree. And that is one way to do it. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but the thing is, when two people don't see eye to eye, it's because there hasn't been that understanding. Like one doesn't feel heard, or one is nagging the other. And there's no agreement that this is not working. You both know you're going in circles, but you need to have the agreement that let's shake hands. We just agree to disagree. Now, it will depend a little bit on the topic, because if that topic involves other people, then that is where you're kind of going into the gray zone, where you might need to expand on whether that's one to let go of or not. If it's something where she's telling you how to live your life, but it is technically your life and only involves you, well, then it is your life, right? It doesn't impact other people. But let's say, let's say you didn't like something she was doing and it impacted other family members. Okay. Then that would be one where you can't let it go because it involves other people. Okay.
Sure.
So you got to kind of figure out, what are things you can let go of agree to disagree versus which ones you need to work on. Also, I truly believe that, whether you contact a life coach, you're welcome to contact me offline, whether you contact a minister, whether you go to therapy. I'm a fan of that because I think sometimes you need that third neutral party to hash out. Okay. So don't make it the battle between you and her. There's no winner. It's you against her. It's her against you. There's no winner. Take it to a third party person, kind of like a mediator. And that is where sometimes that contract can be birthed, because then the two of you can bring it to that third party person who can say, listen, you're both ridiculous. Just agree to disagree. Or the third party person will say, you know what? I know you're not going to like to hear this, but she's got a valid point. And sometimes that third person can educate the other person on why they might be wrong or why they might need more education. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, it does. And we actually haven't tried a contract, so that's going to be my immediate go-to because we haven't tried that, and that sounds like a great idea.
And then have that third-party person help you work out that contract. Exactly. Otherwise, if you do that, it'll be good. Thank you for calling in.
Of course. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well. Thanks. Bye.
I really enjoyed that she asked that question because honestly, a lot of times loneliness feels like we're up against the wall, like our back's against the wall, someone's attacking us, or we can never do anything right. And so it is important sometimes to get a third party to step in and help coach you. And that's what we do. That's what I do weekly with my clients. So I want to thank very much everybody who called into the show today. Our inspirational guest, Jonathan Benninger. Honestly, great story and very motivational. And most of all, if you want to hear the show again, do listen to the other episodes and this one. Stay motivated, stay encouraged. The Living Full Out family is here to support you each week. Most of all, get out of loneliness. Get out of that gray zone. You're better than that. Step into confidence. You're worth it. Here's to you living your life full out. We'll be seeing you next week. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Here's to you, living full out.